Om Sahana Vavatu
भवतु
Sahanau
सहनौ
Bhunaktu
भुनक्तु
Sahaviryam
अवीर्यं
Karavavahe
करवावहै
Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswate Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Can see my screen.
Yes.
So today we are in module 10 and we'll be talking about the three gunas, which I had referred to very fleetingly in the previous sessions. So we'll have the introduction to the three gunas. We'll understand what these three gunas are. And then we'll move on to the references in the Bhagavad Gita to the three gunas. The Lord talks about it extensively in the Bhagavad Gita. So this session, module 10 and 11 will be taken by me. And we will cover the introduction and chapters 14, 17, and 18 of the Bhagavad Gita in this session and the next session. And in the last session, the module number 10, 11, 12, we'll have an external speaker. BKM will talk about her, the lady who will be coming in, and she'll be talking about again a tool that she has developed to assess, to do a psychometric test based on the three gunas. So BKM will talk about that in the after the session. So we have that, and then I have one more session on chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll have the last session. So this will be on this module 11 will be on May 2nd. May 16th, I think, is the guest speaker, and then the May 31st will be the last session by me. Then we'll have one more session where I'll just give a summary of all that we have done so far, a very short summary in 15 minutes, and then we'll throw it open to all of you all for your experiences. Maybe you can play the flute, tabla, or anything. Just give your just go ahead and express yourself.
Graduation day.
Yes, graduation day, right? And this I had when we had spoken about the creation and how the three bodies came in, and then it said that in creation that the three gunas sattva, rajas, and tamas are inherent in creations, and essentially the divinity that we have is veiled by our desires, that vasanas, as we call it, the layer of vasanas, and these vasanas or desires are tinged by these three gunas called as sattva, um, rajas, and tamas. So sattva, if you want to express it in a single word, you can say it is the knowing faculty, rajas is the doing faculty, and tamas is the resting faculty. So let's look at them a little bit more in detail. So desires, thoughts, and actions, like I said, are again determined by these three gunas. And the meaning of guna is, guna, the word guna in Sanskrit has two meanings. It means attributes. It also means a rope or a string. So essentially, when we say the three gunas, it is a combination of both these words. It means that these are like attributes that we have in us, and they bind us like a string. They bind us to the samsara like a string or a rope. So sattva can be kind of, said to be like a golden rope. Rajas is like a silver rope, and tamas is like a iron rope. And it's not as if we are bound only by one rope. We are bound by all the three ropes, and they're intertwined with each other because the proportions and combinations vary so much. It may vary when in an individual as they grow older. It'll vary, the proportions vary from one person to the other in the same family, maybe even twins will be different. So these proportions, they tie us like a rope in a various combinations, and that determines the texture of our human personality. So in the unmanifested state, if you remember that when you go back to the very earlier lectures, when we spoke about the Lord, or the creator of this universe in the Nirguna Nirakara, um, as Nirguna Nirakara Brahman. In that state, everything is in a state of equilibrium. Nothing has manifested. There's no creation. Everything is that Satchidananda Swarupa Brahman, absolute existence, consciousness, bliss, nothing. And in that state, all the three gunas are in a state of perfect equilibrium, because that nirguna, when you say nirguna, it has got no gunas. So when it doesn't have a gunas, it means it is lying. These gunas are in an unmanifested state and in a state of perfect equilibrium. When this force decides that, that it wants to start creation, one doesn't know what forces it or why it desires to have started creation. But when that desire manifests, then immediately the guna balance gets distorted. Rajas becomes a little bit more active, and then creation happens. So essentially, these gunas, when they exist in that state of perfect equilibrium, they have that potential to create this vast universe. At that time, they are absolutely quiet, but the moment the balance get disturbed, then it throws out the universe, and Ishvara and Maya create this universe of that we see, we see something, we don't see so much of this universe. They're all created by the three gunas. Now, the creation, they interact, and like they say, the interact and the interplay of these three gunas throws out this universe. It is so vast, it has got so many things, but everything in this universe is subject to the three gunas, is made up of, like we said, we say all matters are made up of those pancha mahabhutas, and then the pancha mahabhutas have the three gunas inherent in them. So, like they say, every level of manifested existence in this universe is structured and fashioned by this dynamics of these three gunas, and they keep changing. Then the mind, and as we saw, in the previous module, that the mind, intellect are all coming from the tanmatras. They too, and they are subtle, they can't be seen, but they're also subject to the three gunas, which is why the mental makeup of each person is different. Some people are more quieter, so more calmer, and some people are full of rage, and some people are kind of, absolute depths of the society, almost animalistic. And that again, it all comes from the play of the three gunas. All life, even animate, inanimate, they're all subject to the gunas. A stone is almost, it's an epitome. You see a stone standing there, you may wonder what is it. Does it also have three gunas? It is predominantly tamasic. It doesn't have a life because it has existence, but it doesn't have that life factor, that chaitanya factor that enlivens us. It doesn't have. It has sat chit, but it doesn't have the consciousness. But it is tamasic in guna. So though everything you see in this world, animate and inanimate, is subject to is the three gunas. The scriptures, so the what we do is, in the scriptures, the Upanishads, and essentially Bhagavad Gita tells us to identify how the three gunas affect us across various factors, the way we behave, the food we eat, and it kind of, the Bhagavad Gita talks about the way these gunas manifest in every little aspect of how we behave, and it helps us to identify where we are and helps us to to get out of it in case we want to. It tells you how each behavior manifests, because and if one of the gunas is predominant, and it also takes you to the through the kind of characteristics that will it'll manifest as. It'll help us identify these, and in case we want to get out of it, the Bhagavad Gita tells you how to do that also. So in chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita is primarily dedicated to the analysis of the three gunas, and it's called as Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So it has, the chapter is kind of, divided into three topics. The Gunatraya Vichara, which analyzes what these three gunas are and how they bind and really keep us shackled to this cycle of samsara. And it says Guna Tita Sadhana, how do you get out of this guna and how to come out of the bondage? And Gunatita Phalam, and how do you come, when you come out of the bondage, what are the fruits that you will get? So today, I mean, in this module, we are only doing this Gunatraya Vichara. To understand this, we'll have to do the Bhagavad Gita completely in greater detail. So today, I will take you through the analysis of the three gunas as given in the Bhagavad Gita and how they bind and shackle us. So what are the qualities of the three gunas? Let's start off from tamas. Tamas is characterized by inertia, indolence, a resistance to effort. I mean, I'm just talking about the stone. It doesn't move unless you push it or you kick it. So, and there are human beings also like that who just lie down doing nothing the whole day. I mean, you hear about, people drinking and coming and beating their wife, taking the money away, drinking and just lying on the road. You have seen people just lying on the road completely drunk, absolute lack of initiative, no consistency of purpose. Even if they work somewhere, they will not do their work completely. You may give them 4 tasks, at the most, one may be completed, but that again may not be error free. They have this tendency to be lazy, gloomy, sleeping always. And then that wailing power of Maya is very thick on them and absolutely sluggish. And these are the people who are prone to depression, who get sucked into the darker side of life and try to get the easier way out. They, kind of you the life is kind of dissipated in them. They are just kind of, they may just look for easy way out and do anything to get money, and they are the ones who get pulled into drugs and absolute, into dregs of society. You see that, popular this on Simpson. Whenever I see Simpson, I think of Homer Simpson as somebody who epitomizes tamas, lying there, drinking the whole day, just kind of, pushing around everybody, and good at heart, but absolutely lazy. Then comes Rajas. What is Rajas? But one thing is, I must say that it's not as if tamas is completely bad. It is because of tamas that we get rest every day. All of us, we have tamas in us, and it is this tamas that tells our body to stop working and to lie down and take rest, kind of, recharge our batteries, get up the next day and start working. It is only in that tamasic person, they may not get up the next day morning and then start working. They'll be just, kind of lying around, lounging around, doing nothing. But a person who is who has Rajas and Sattva predominantly in them, get up the next day, make use of the tamas to give them the rest and make use of it positively, get up the next day and explore the next day and to make a living. So what is Rajas? Rajas, the qualities of a Rajasic person is they generally agitated because their mind is highly active. They move from one thing to the other. They're sharp, they're intelligent, and they're driven by passion and ambition and absolutely goal oriented. They are people who can visualize something that can, which will take shape several years from now. You may think it's very preposterous now. A Sattvic person may think that it's very preposterous what he's telling, but the Rajasic person knows is somewhere somehow able to visualize something ahead of time and has ability to take the risk and maybe be a little bit careless on the way, but that person will jump into the activity and do it. And essentially they have a lot of desires in them, and these desires prompt them to take action, to do everything. Maybe there's volatility, maybe there'll be inconsistency. They may start the activity, do something of it, leave it halfway through, go on to something else, but they will try. They will not sit back saying that I don't want to do anything, life is so boring, everything is so gloomy. You'll never see them like that. They will be doing something or the other, running around, multitasking, and they have a strong desire to own everything, all the material comforts in the world. And that drives them. They'll see somebody having something that they want or covet. They will work hard to get it for themselves, some way or the other. Some may work in a good way, the others may work in a different way, but they will try to achieve what they want. Of course, such people have an inability to stay focused on one task. They are restless through excessive multitasking and mental agitation, moving from one to the other. You'll find them being very aggressive, maybe exploding also, in a meeting. They are the people who may come up with a very good idea, but it may not be very well thought of. It may just come to their mind, they will tell it to you. Very energetic, project power. These are the leaders. The if you see a leader projecting power, you should understand that the rajas in them is very, very high. These are people who can command, who ensure that things get done, who are able to get work done from others, and because through their aggression. And these people also tend to get frustrated, and because they're highly excited, they want something to be done. If it doesn't happen, they can get frustrated and they may explode also. This allows for motivation and get things done, but this kind of highly rajasic people hinders self-inquiry. So, and meditation. They're not able to sit down quietly and be calm their mind. That will be a very big task for them. Calming their mind is not going to be an easy thing, and they will keep flitting from one thing to the other. And if you see Bart Simpson, is kind of, you see that boy flitting from one thing to the other, playing things, with playing various pranks on his sister. You will understand, you can see an epitome of a highly Rajasic person. What are these people have that continuous drive for expansion, growth, and they have, if you're able to kind of understand somebody who's highly rajasic, we should be able to use them in our teams for activity planning, execution, and the scaling efforts. These people are very good at it because they have that ambition and that risk taking ability. And these are the people who are able to widen their influence, and their life is marked by productivity, movement, and enjoyment of the journey of life itself. They enjoy everything that life gives them, every comfort that they can earn for them, they enjoy, and they live life very well. Then Sattva Guna. The core qualities of Sattva Guna are knowledge, wisdom, clarity. They have a clear and calm mind, absolutely equanimous, serene, poised in thought and action. You'll never see them coming out with something, which will just strike their mind. It will be always be a well thought of remark. In a meeting, you will see people, coming up with various ideas. You may see one person sitting quietly, and at the end of it, may make a remark which is so well thought of and which kind of identifies the risk in that proposal that you're thinking about in a very quiet and unassuming manner. You can understand this person is highly sattvic. So this person is detached from rewards, does not, if a person is highly sattvic, they may just not work for the money or the reward. They may just work for the pure enjoyment of doing this and out of a sense of duty or dharma. You may think that, these people are very easygoing. You may think they're very easygoing, calm, peaceful, but underneath that calm and peaceful exterior, there is a mind which is highly active, which is a voracious reader, and which has this, this insatiable appetite for knowledge. They read a lot, they want to acquire a lot of knowledge, they want to explore certain areas which very few people do. And they are kind of, this is the kind of mind which will think of existential questions like, why am I here? Is there a life beyond this? I want to know something beyond this. There is that, the spiritual happenings, the spiritual awakenings, I should say, happens because of a person who has got, whose sattva is highly refined. It facilitates inquiry, meditation, and it allows for discernment. It, this mind has a sense of discrimination between what is good, what is bad, and it will not jump into anything that is being given to them. They will think about it thoroughly and then think whether they should do it or not. And Lisa Simpson is a perfect example of somebody who's highly sattvic. She's constantly reading and she comes up with all these, these pearls of wisdom in a family which doesn't value it at all. So, what are the outcomes of a person who's predominantly sattvic? They have, they're constantly acquiring knowledge. There's a growth in knowledge. These are the people who will gravitate towards wherever there are books, they'll pick out and they'll read something. They're constantly, kind of wondering, what should I do new? These are the people who put themselves through different courses, even if, at a later stage of life, because they want to know more, they want to grasp something. And this happens only because his mind is very quiet, composed, and the intellect is highly refined, and hence they have that ability to sit quietly, read something, assimilate that, reflect on it, and then make it a part of their life and also share it with the others. And this continuous, increase in wisdom and reflection and contemplation only helps in making them, kind of stand out from the crowd, and people naturally seek them out in case they have to discuss certain important aspects of life. According to Bhagwan, knowledge and clarity of understanding manifest in a person, knowledge, that desire to acquire knowledge, the desire to understand what is being taught in all these higher texts, and the clarity, and then the clarity of mind that results from getting this knowledge manifests in a person in whom the sattva guna is predominant, and it leads to a kind of an inner harmony and a higher understanding. It doesn't get disturbed, by what happened. You'll never see a sattvic person immediately respond to some call that comes through and says that, that you will lose your account is being locked, and please give me this, your password, please give me the OTP. You'll never see that sattvic person immediately responding and giving. A rajasic and a tamasic person will do that and get caught in something, but a sattvic person will say, no, wait, tell me, where are you calling from? And because nothing agitates them, and they don't take decision in a hurry, they're able to sit back, analyze that information, and take action without any agitation. So this leads them, to that, they are absolutely aligned internally and have such a higher awareness that the mind is able to grasp that higher wisdom also. So how do these gunas bind us? Like we said, they're like three ropes and they bind us completely. How do they bind us? Now let's start off with the sattva guna, because we think that when you have gone through the three gunas, you think sattvic guna is the best. But yes, it is good. But sattva guna also binds us through goodness. If you see that, in Vaya, we have that, when we do the Vaya, we have that thing of underusing that strength and overuse of the strength. Sattva guna is also like that. Sattva guna is very good. It makes us balance. But what happens, when we overuse sattva guna? So yes, the main thing of Satoguna is that it gives us that calm and peaceful personality. There's inner balance, poise, which leads to acquisition of knowledge and understanding of higher wisdom. It leads to a refinement in a personality. The person is elegant, cultured, sophisticated, and is able to hold his own. And this person may walk in alone in a function, but will be completely comfortable with their own personality, and they normally exude a kind of a calmness, sophistication, and these are people who move towards fine arts because there's a kind of refinement in their taste, and they have this strong desire for peace and will move away from places where there's a lot of fight, or there's a lot of agitation, or you can say, you'll never see them playing all those video games, you know but it also results in them becoming overly sensitive. They may start avoiding situations or functions because they don't like the chaos there. They may, they don't like interacting with people who are kind of, just coming there. There's a lot of music, loud music, dance. They may become oversensitive to all these, this what they view as aggressive behavior, and they keep and will keep away from it. So there is that risk of overuse of sattva, resulting in them getting isolated. They become at a point intolerant to opposing views also, because they think that they may think that I am so good that they start looking down on people who are highly aggressive and who are tamasic, and tend to become cynical when confronted with some moral decline, and they see something happening, and they'll probably be quick to jump to judgments and classify them as morally deviant, and I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want these kind of things, and they'll kind of become very intolerant, and they may acquire this kind of this holier than thou attitude. So that is how, and sattva can bind you in that fashion. It could lead you to become distrustful and doubtful of person, somebody who's slightly different from you. A person, it may block you from seeing the goodness in a person who's rajasic or who's predominantly tamasic. It may block you. You may just look at the external characteristic of that person, and it could block you from seeing the goodness in them. You become distrustful, cynical, and doubtful of everyone. And this, in a way, this goodness may keep you trapped in this same, it keeps you trapped in this idea of being good and being knowledgeable, and you kind of get trapped in your own image of yourself. And the Lord has said that in the Gita, that sattva is good. It's very good. You should move towards being sattvic, but at some point you should drop that also, because ultimately that is a guna. It is good. It will take you to a particular step, but at some point learn to drop it and move ahead, because for liberation you have to drop all the three, because all the three bind you in some way or the other. And like, a sattvic person gets bound by his own morality, ideals, and an idea of how an ideal world should be, that he still remains in it and keeps coming back to it, and probably not very happy, because only very few people are highly sattvic, and they may feel that they're a misfit in this whole world, and they may become more and more of a recluse. So at some time, learn to drop the sattvic guna also. Rajoguna. How does Rajas bind us? Through action. It drives constant activity, and this activity is driven by ambition and a kind of restlessness to achieve. You want to achieve, you see something and you say that I want to reach there by the age of 30, and then you're doing everything to reach there. A lot of ambition, lot of activity, constantly pushing yourself, and this could result in in that person becoming an alcoholic, and an inability to sit quietly. They jump from one task to the other. They're moving from one table to the other. If their work is over, you'll see them going to the other person and asking, "What are you doing? Have you not finished this?" And then they'll kind of start doing things for themselves, teaching them how to do, and absolutely jumping from one task to the other. And all this is because they have this strong desires in them, that highly kind of uh, this that desire driven. Their vasanas are predominant, and these desires lead them to action. Actions produce karma, and this karma produces karma phalam, and they have to keep coming back to kind of live and enjoy the karma phalam. Good karmas give you punya, bad karmas give you papa. You keep coming back to exhaust these karma phalam, and then it leads you into this cycle of repeated births, karma, and then you are completely trapped in this cycle of samsara. So Rajaguna keeps you trapped in this cycle of samsara through action. Sattva Guna keeps you trapped in the cycle of samsara through your goodness, through your high moral values. And let's see how Tamoguna keeps you bound in samsara. Tamoguna people are absolutely kind of negligent, lack of attention to detail, nothing gets done properly. You may explain it to them very well, they'll nod their head, but they'll end up doing everything wrong. There's no desire in them, an inability to recall any instructions or information given to them. I mean, forget about, thinking or remembering. They cannot reason, they don't have a sense of reasoning. And then of course, when there's no sense of reasoning, they are mostly driven by their emotions, their actions are driven by the emotions. And you can't expect any problem solving skills from them. You can't expect them to be calm or get anything done. Just give them one task at a time, small task, they'll get it done and come back. They're always in a state of confusion. Some of them, if the Rajoguna is slightly active, they may, if you give them the instructions, they will do it properly and come. In some, when the Rajoguna is not even, is Tamoguna is more predominant, they will be in a state of confusion, absolutely unclear, disoriented, and just going about, I mean, just and eat what is given to them, just wear what is given to them. And their life is characterized by inertia and there's no change that happens in them. They just go through life without any proper action, mental dullness, no alertness, and then they are bound. They cannot, they are so tamasic and they're so veiled by Maya. The desires are veiled completely and there's no knowledge and clarity. So there is no ability for them to do anything that will get them out of this samsara. They will be caught up in this samsara from birth to birth unless they kind of, wake up and move from tamas to rajas. They will, they continue to be bound through their ignorance. So, and in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, the Lord says, Dhume na vriyate vagnir yata darsho malena cha yatol bena vrito garbha tata tene damavritam. The Lord says, just as, fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is masked by dust, and an embryo is concealed by the womb, similarly, one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. So the tamasic people, he says, the tamasic people, the intellect is, divinity is covered like the womb, like the walls of a womb. In the Rajasic person, the divinity is covered like a dust on the mirror. And in a Sattvic person, the divinity is covered, is shrouded like the smoke on fire. What does the Lord mean by this? So the tamasic state is like almost like the person is in the fetus, in the womb. There's complete enclosure. The womb does not allow external light to come in. It doesn't allow external food to come in. The person is there, is absolutely in a restricted place, which allows for physical growth. But the mental growth, a lot of it happens outside. And it is hit that baby has to be in the womb for a fixed period of time. And unless the time comes and the baby resorts to Rajasic and realize that it has to come out, it has to make some effort to come out of that womb, that it remains in the womb, which is like a, a kind of a thick shield, and it is remains in the dark, completely shield from the external environment. So, the Lord says that tamasic state is dominated by inertia, ignorance, and complete lethargy, strong ego identification, no sense of discrimination, and the evolution is very slow and gradual. And it requires a lot of patience for that life within the womb to go through that period, that it has to be there. The period is mandatory. If it comes out earlier, it will perish. So it has to remain there for that fixed period. And during that fixed period, it requires patience to grow, reach a particular state, and the efforts have to be sustained, and it requires discipline and nourishment. And once it gets that right amount of nourishment, discipline and growth, it should take that first effort to shake off the inertia and rise to the rajasic state. And how is divinity covered in the Rajasic state? It is like the dust on the mirror. The obstruction is his, like, it's not as bad as a tamasic state that it is a complete enclosure. The obstruction is heavy. This because the Rajasic people are driven by passion, desire, and restlessness, and they're also highly egocentric. The divinity is covered, but it is not destroyed. It is still there. It is like the dust on the mirror. You may not be able to see yourself at all if there is a thick layer of dust, but you have to pick up something and wipe it off. And once it's wiped out, you can see that. So there's a little effort that is required by the Rajasic person to get up and wipe out that dust. And once that their focus shifts from sense gratification to searching for inner meaning, for deeper meaning of life, then then the divinity will slowly start revealing itself. So what the Rajasic person needs is karma yoga, self-regulation in their habits, and then, probably start off with some early morning yoga practices, pranayama, to calm them down, to calm the physical body down first, and then slowly moving to calming their mind and progress towards sattva. So the tamasic person cannot jump to becoming sattva. The tamasic person has to shake off the inertia and rise towards rajas and start performing actions. And then slowly, and the rajasic person has to kind of calm that him or herself down, doing certain actions to self-regulate their body and mind and progress towards sattva. And what does a sattva person have to do? In this sattvic case, like the Lord says, it is like a smoke on the fire. There's just a partial obstruction. The fire is going on, but so many times you don't see the fire. Most people die because they inhale the smoke. The smoke is thick and billowing there. You don't know where the fire is. So to do that, normally, they kind of throw open the windows and let the smoke out. Or, even when you see those ladies cooking, they have those pipes and they blow the air through the pipe, and then the smoke gets removed, and the flame starts, kind of it starts blazing and starts cooking even more. It becomes even more stronger. So this is like characterized, the sattva guna is characterized like like divinity covered by smoke on fire. It is there, it is thick, it is dark, but if you just take a little bit of effort and blow it away, then the divinity is revealed. And in such a person, divinity is revealed through prayers, through, listening to scriptures, meditation, contemplation, and these things come very easily to them. And a gentle push is all that they need towards self-realization. And they're actually standing on the threshold of truth, but they don't know the direction. So once that smoke is removed, they'll be able to see the door, push it open, and go towards to self knowledge. So the essential the meaning of that verse in the Gita is that desire is like a soft veil that dims the fire of wisdom, like smoke on flame, dust on a mirror, and the womb around a new life. So it is a desire which is the veil. Once you realize that this is the veil which is keeping me away from the divinity, you will realize that, probably one has to start slowly reducing the desires and sharpening our intellect and wisdom from within. So in chapter 17 of Gita, so that was chapter 14 of Gita, where Lord describes how the three gunas, what are the characteristics of the three gunas and how they bind us. In chapter 17, Bhagwan talks about, the chapter 17 is called a Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. And there he talks about our faith, which shapes our inherent nature, or what is called as Swabhava. He says our Swabhava, our inherent nature is of three kinds. It is pure, passionate, or dark and dull. And Bhagwan gives an exhaustive list, he gives a very exhaustive list of how these three gunas manifest in every aspect of our life. And that is something that I will take in the next session. Because the list is exhaustive, if I start now, I'll not be able to finish it. So, in the next session, I will talk about 17 and chapter 18 and how they affect so many characteristics of our life and how it manifests in our behavior. So, this was a rather shorter this because session because I just wanted to introduce a concept, and in the next session will be slightly longer and where we will see how it manifests. So Haim, yeah, yes, Vas, but I will just check with Haim because he said he wanted to leave early. So if you have any questions, you can ask now. Oh no, before that, I think let's move on to BKM. BKM, please share your views and also a little about about the lady who will be coming on and talking to us about the Triguna scales.
Okay, thank you, Jayanti. That was great, actually. Very quick and crisp, as well as absolutely clear explanation of all the three gunas. Uh, 2 cents from my side is actually she actually mentioned this 2 3 times. This manifests in all our lives in multiple forms, and all the three are required. So when we look at it, the taste what we eat. Some of us like sweet, some of us like sourness, some of us eat salty food, and all this junk food. There are a lot of people who eat that junk food. So each of that is also driven by these three gunas. In some form or the other, these three gunas play a major role in what we eat. And the way of our life also is driven by this. And then going to the other side, Ayurvedic treatments
Mm.
are based on these gunas and the taste. And again, the gunas are the roots of our taste. And then they look at, when you go to an Ayurvedic or Siddha medicine,
Mm.
they ask you, what do you like? Do you like soreness? Or you like fruits which are pulpy? No, they ask such kind of questions. Some of us wonder, why is this question being asked? When
Mm.
do you sleep? How long do you sleep? When do you get up? What exercise do you do? They ask a lot of apparently irrelevant questions for the context, but basically they are trying to decide on what is our nature, what is our predominant nature. We all have three, all the three in some combination. What is our predominant nature? Based on that, they give the medicine. That is why these Ayurvedic medicines take more time to react, but they cure permanently. Whereas our painkillers kill the pain for the time being, but they also create a small hole on the other side. It opens a door for some other disease somewhere else. Whereas some of these medicines are integrative medicines. So these gunas are predominantly the way we live. And that's all I wanted to add here for the session. Because Jayanti asked me to talk about the speaker, I would like to jump to that point and then leave it to him for his question. This is going to be a person called, I mean, she's Dr. Shilpa. She has done her PhD in this Triguna scale. She has developed a scale like our psychometric instrument. She has developed an instrument for measuring the gunas. It's very interesting to see why she was gravitated towards this. She's a homemaker with 2 kids, and kids had one of those the so-called ADHD or such kind of things. When she was trying to consult people, the Western concepts were looking at only the behavior, or they were giving a quietener or things like that. She was not satisfied with them. So she went into deeper into the Indian scriptures and then started looking at various things from the our ancient scriptures actually. Then she came across this and she found that this is actually the root cause of many things, and she wanted to explore this. She started exploring, and then she ended up registering for a PhD in Mysore University. That is
Mm.
why the scale what she developed is called Mysore Triguna scale. And she is a well-known person in this particular field, and she was guided by Professor Mahadevan from IAMB. I have interacted with her. I have gone through the scale myself. I have gone through the questionnaire, which is almost like it takes about 3 hours or so, and it is priced. What she is doing is she has done the research in that area, and she has been awarded PhD for that. Now she has started using it for assessing the children in schools, using the Trivana scale for even recruitment in some companies. So she is actually broad basing that across various disciplines of our life, predominantly advising the companies on what kind of work they will do. If you need a person who needs to think and look at strategy, chief strategy officer, you cannot have a person who is a Tamo predominant or a Rajo predominant. You have to have a person with a higher level of Sattvic nature. So she is trying to develop a report and then advise the companies on such kind of things. So I've spoken to her already. Then she has agreed for a session with us. So she will talk about her scale and the journey, what she has been doing, which will be very useful for us, I suppose. And the key point here is when we see all these things, Rajo, Tamo, and all that, somebody may wonder what is the use of this. And actually, the application of that is seen in corporate life, in schools, in colleges. She is applying it across all the places, and it's becoming more and more predominant and popular as the days go by. Okay, so we will have an opportunity to listen to her, and she was very excited to be part of this meeting with us. So that with that introduction, I will stop here. More when we go there to that particular session. But I'm giving back to Jayanti. Thank you so much, Jayanti.
Thanks, Vikim. Thanks so much. Yes, Haim, you can go ahead.
So what I could gather, each and everybody has a proper mix and combination of tamas, rajas, and sattva. In somebody, I think people we come across now, mostly rajas is predominant in them, isn't it? In the coaching profession, the senior leaders, they are mostly having the rajas guna predominant in them, isn't it?
Maybe
But
yes. Yeah.
okay, as you said, like in if sattva guna is predominant in somebody, he becomes more of a kind of very spiritual person and not much of affinity towards his career, maybe. So how to deal with that kind of people, where
Yeah.
the sattva guna is predominant in that, and if he is into the profession, how to deal with them?
Yeah. Probably they'll become a coach. So,
They'll become a
the
coach.
people who are highly sattvic they may become a teacher or a coach or a counselor or something like that. They could get into the helping profession. So
And
let's
maybe the
wait for.
artists.
Yeah. Yeah, the artists, but then for artists also, like, yeah, see, for them, suppose somebody is painting, that person also needs kind of a painter, needs to be highly sattvic and also a combination of Rajoguna, because the thoughts and ideas have to manifest and they need to be patiently, be alone, sitting there and, manifesting that whatever they thought on the canvas. So they are highly sattvic. So let's wait till the next session where we speak about these and where we speak about where the combinations and what it actually means, how it manifests in our behavior and the combinations and what it results in. So I'm addressing that in the next one.
Okay. And
So
also one
yes,
more thing.
yes, you're right. We see when we coach people, we see that they are highly rajasic, and that's when which is something which we can make out now, when we know all these characteristics. So, and it is okay, which has brought them up to a certain level, but once they reach a leadership level, they should also have this high degree of empathy. They should be able to identify with the problems of the people, otherwise they do not become a popular leader. And which is why we see, when we go into coach, they know they have been very good operational people and they have come to that point, and then they're floundering because they have to become a people's person. They don't know how to do that. So there somewhere, I guess, that is where we'll have to guide them towards becoming a little bit more sattvic, becoming more centered, identifying and becoming more, kind of getting connected with the emotions of the others.
Okay, one more thing, something different. See, when the horoscope is prepared, people say that he has got Devagana, Naragana, Rakshasgana, you might be aware. Is it all the same thing or something
I
different?
don't know much about
Different.
astrology. So
Okay.
I don't know, because to know that we'll have to know how it manifests as. So I don't know.
Right.
I'm not I've learned a little bit of astrology, but then I gave it up thinking that it didn't interest me.
The classification is little different.
I think that could be different. That only an astrologer will tell how it manifests as.
So
What
they
are the
also call it
Jayanti,
guna, Deva guna, Nara guna, Rakshas guna,
Mhm.
like somebody can be Deva guna, somebody can be Nara guna, somebody can be Rakshas guna. So I could find a similarity here with the Sattva
Yeah.
guna, Rajas guna, and Tamas guna. So I just thought.
So let's wait for the next lecture, then maybe take that list and you'll have to catch hold of an astrologer who will be able to tell us, how these gunas manifest in a person.
Right,
That
from
whatever
the birth.
Rakshasa guna or
Yeah,
Deva
they're
guna.
based on the horoscope.
Yeah, based on the horoscope, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So,
a short clarification, Jayanti. Next session is the visiting lecture or the next to
no,
next?
no. Next session, I'll be doing it.
Okay.
Because only then she'll come, because you need to know about all these, the gunas, how they manifest in us before she comes on. Otherwise you'll not be able to grasp that essence of what she's telling, how she's assessing people on the Triguna state. So next session is mine on 14 chapter 17 and 18 of Bhagavad Gita.
Right. Thank you.
Wait, yes, Vas, you can ask.
Yeah, Jayanti, this knowing, doing, both in the Vaya and also in the coaching, the being part of it. The tamas is not being, it's resting, you said. Where is the being part of it?
The
Does
being
it come
part
into
of,
picture?
I don't know whether we can see. The thing is, the knowing, yes, in tamas. The being, I would say, is probably in Rajas and Sattva. And Tamasic is something which, you are kind of underutilizing any strength. There's no overuse, there's absolute underuse of any of those strengths.
Okay. And the being part doesn't come into any other gunas.
I guess being is, you can say Sattva, because you are kind of being calm and being in the moment. I don't know. I mean, you can't exactly map, but you can map those qualities, those, the Vaya attributes in this. You can put it as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. If you look at the Vaya again, you'll be able to classify it.
Fair.
Those attributes, you can easily put them in those slots, in the 3 slots. And I think tamasic is when you don't use any of these strengths.
The underutilized potential.
Yeah, absolutely underutilized. And maybe that person, you won't be even administering the test to them, because they may not even understand what it is all about, these questions. They may wonder, why are we asking? And they may not even give it, So whom do we administer it to? Somebody who's reached a particular level of leadership level, and that person has risen only because of his sattva and of his rajas and sattva guna. There's a combination of both which has brought them to this stage.
Thanks.
Yeah, Krish, you can go ahead. Yeah, Shiva, yeah, I'm asking according to how I see your faces on the screen. I'm following that.
Yeah.
So Krish can.
Thanks. Okay, Krish.
Okay, go ahead. If you have started asking, go ahead and ask Shiva. Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Yeah, there are a couple of things, Jayanti. One is I have a different understanding, from what Hem just explained, between Rajas and Sattva. It appeared to me, or the way I understood is that, the level of motivation is the same, but in Sattva, the motivation, the driver for the motivation is something of a higher level in terms of nishkama karma, if I may put it that way, or the karmane vadika raste, that kind of a motivation where it is not driven by acquisition of material possessions or fame for some accomplishment or something, but something meeting a higher order need, or in terms of, so that is how I understood it. That there's a strong element of action even in the sattva guna is how I understood. I just wanted to clarify that one.
Yeah. So yes, let's wait till the next lecture. So I'll bring that out, very clearly in the next module.
And the other question I had, Jayanti, would you be aware of any initiative or effort in trying to, what we are going through in the Indian knowledge system through this course of
kind of matching it with some of the very widely prevalent theories today in the area of coaching, which are considered Western thoughts or concept. Because as you were explaining, it just occurred to me something Marshall Goldsmith expounded in his book "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." It somehow struck made me think that unless there is an element of a balancing element of sattva, Rajas may get you up to a point, but unless
Yeah.
it is, optimized or, influenced or balanced by sattva, it may not take you further than that. And some of your things may remain unutilized. I don't know whether the way I'm interpreting it is making sense, or, whether my thinking is, skewed or distorted. I just wanted to get that clarified.
Yeah. In fact, in the previous Pragyana Prakasika one, that Rama Shivaraman, one external speaker, had come and she'd spoken about, how the Indian knowledge system, she had mapped the Indian knowledge system, these scales, along with the Western instruments of MBTI and other things, became, you will remember that. Very, very well, she had taken us through that, So, yes, you are right. There is a kind of, but then now it is left to us to kind of see the parallels and draw that. And that is exactly what CFI is working towards, to try to bring out this knowledge system and the Indian knowledge system and balance it with all the Western theories that we are getting. So this is just a starting point for it all, actually.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's why we had to, and to reach this level, we have to go through the previous lectures. So there are many who feel that why are we doing that? Why are we going through those three states, the three bodies, and other things? So all that you have to go through all that to understand what these three gunas actually signify and where do they manifest, how do they manifest. So one has to go through this process. So this is just a beginning made by CFI. Let's see how it progresses, in the future. If any of y'all want to, y'all can also take it up and see how we can come up with something which will bring out, and which is why became thought of bringing that lady on to show that we also have homegrown psychometric tests which can be used to assess a person. Yeah, go
Maybe I
ahead.
was getting a little ahead of myself here.
Yeah, we are, because this is, nobody's been using it. Though I would say that, people like Professor Mahadevan and all are using it now at the university level. Most universities now, you even see IIMs have courses on Bhagavad Gita. They have courses on Indian knowledge system. Most IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, I see that they're offering these courses, and it's a part of the course curriculum for all the youngsters. So once you learn the Bhagavad Gita and understand it, you get all the theories from there. You don't have to rely on Marshall Goldsmith, because he has got a lot of wisdom. If you see his wisdom, you go back and read his books, you realize that a lot of it is derived from our knowledge systems also. There is an underlying, a very thick layer of the Indian knowledge manifesting in their work. Even if you look at it, even the so many theories of counseling are all derived from our Indian knowledge systems. They've all read it. Einstein has read it. So they have read and understood the Bhagavad Gita. And in a way, now it's being taught in business schools. So hopefully the youngsters will start thinking differently and have a
Actually,
more
on this
balanced
particular
approach.
Thank you,
point,
Jayanti.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
on this particular point, Jayanti, I would like to add
Wow.
a bit. Actually, as we speak, IIM Bangalore is actually planning to offer courses in basic Sanskrit and advanced Sanskrit. They are in talk with us already for offering a Sanskrit language course in IIM Bangalore. And when Professor Mahadevan used to offer the Bhagavad Gita, he offered it two flavors: a Bhagavad Gita as it is and Bhagavad Gita with a secular lens. And both the courses were oversubscribed. In IIMs and IISc and IITs, when a course is offered, people are allowed to take from any stream. And they are all multidisciplinary and cross pollination is possible. So they had to stop the registration beyond a level. And he used to run courses in the evening hours. Beyond the regular class hours, he was offering courses in the evening also. I mean, there is a lot of renewed interest. The same thing is happening with IIT Madras right now. There are courses being offered being an effective leader using Indian knowledge system. This is a course being offered with a 3 credit course for an engineering degree, and people doing masters also take this course actually. So there is always this, what should I say, conception of the Indian knowledge system in the current curriculum is actually gaining traction actually.
Thank you.
I think I'll apply it whenever. So
Go ahead,
my
Krish. Yeah.
most of the things, my questions have been answered partially or whatever. I was always thinking of MBTI when you were talking of gunas. Initially I used to equate MBTI with the varnas. Okay, so because so whenever somebody talked about the Varnas mentioned in the Vedas and things like that, and then what it has become now. So and they always blamed the Vedas for the and called it a system and whatever. I always used to repartee by kind of saying that it is nothing but MBTI, But I find that no, gunas are more aligned with MBTI than the Varna uh, thought process. And but then there is if we draw a Venn diagram of Varna, Guna, and MBTI, I think we'll come up with an interesting picture. That is what is emerging now today after this session.
In the next
No?
session, I will talk about the Varnas and what are the composition of the gunas in each Varna. So, then it'll become even more clear. So I'm going to talk about that.
So, and gunas, today we talked about gunas being attributed to people, okay, but we became mentioned that the person having rajas guna will probably eat that kind of food or whatever. A person having sattvic guna will eat a kind of food. But then food itself is supposed to have be sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. That influences your behavior as well. So there is it's actually a two-way process. These are just random thoughts which have coming into my mind. I don't know how to structure it.
So
clearly.
the structure will come next week. I'm addressing that next week, so you'll get more clarity, probably when you see that I have a table which shows that, the type of food, the type of, how it manifests. So let's wait till then, because the Lord has spoken about it.
Yes.
In chapter 18 of Gita. So let's wait till the next. So keep your thoughts, write them down, and see whether they get answered next week, in the next session. Yes, Shriram.
Yeah, I remember in one of the first classes you also were talking about, in a typical human life, initially you're materialistic and then you go towards being calmer. And in Satya Yuga, the kings ideally, they shed their kingdoms and went towards. So is there a correlation between age and being rajas or sattvic kind of a thing, ideally for a human being, that you're a bit rajas in your middle age and then you go sattvic? Is it valid or is it relevant?
Not necessary, though our education system makes us like that,
Yeah.
Right from the beginning, you're thought to be competitive and you have to fight for the seat. So it makes us more rajasic, makes us prone towards activity. And you see parents pushing their children in so many classes, dance class, and from there they go to some other class, from there they go to some other class. So constantly they're going for some painting class, something or the other, skating, so it starts from the beginning, the education system, the way we are also competitive, we are pushed into it. But there are some people who kind of move towards, if they inherently sattvic, they don't like it. They'll probably gravitate maybe towards music or tabla, which will, or some instrument, learning an instrument, which is more calming than the Rajasic activities of skating, or maybe even in that, if they're playing drums, they could be more Rajasic. So these, we are born with these characteristics, they manifest in our behavior right from childhood. And then you see some people, some children are highly contemplative even from childhood. And when they reach their teens, they are kind of, sometimes they just become, they just give up everything and they go towards sannyasa. And there are some who are who are highly, they have oriented towards the mathematics, and the whole day they're sitting and doing something, on mathematics, because that again, maybe they're more sattvic. So we are born with all this. And like the Lord says, in Bhagavan says in chapter 6, that whatever knowledge you acquire in this birth will not go waste. You will just continue from where you have left. This body may have become old, or its prarabdha is over, you drop it, you take on the next body, but that knowledge continues in that next body. So you've already become sattvic and highly refined. You will take birth in a family which values these sattvic ideals and which will encourage you to be sattvic.
Right.
No? So that's how it
So,
continues. So it's not necessary that
Age.
everybody goes through these. There are some children who are highly sattvic from the beginning,
so
and
Jayanti,
there are
sorry,
some who love activities.
Understood. Yeah.
Jayanti,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
you mentioned that, am I right? So all three gunas exist in a person, but to varying degrees, isn't it? I mean, am I
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
it right?
yeah, yeah. If you don't have tamas, we will not sleep.
Yeah.
No? Because that is what makes us rest. You need that rest, that 7 to 8 hours where you know nothing. You don't want to get up on some days because you're so tired. The
Yeah.
body is tired. Unless you have tamas, you'll not sleep. So we have
Jayanti,
everything in us.
it's
Yes,
almost
Chand.
like it's
Yeah.
almost like that rest or tamas is like corresponding to sharpening the saw that Stephen Covey talks about.
Uh, hmm.
Yeah, Jayanti, you made
Yeah.
a statement saying the Pancha Koshas are imbued with the three gunas. So I'm still trying to sort of stitch that together. Is it something? Is there something you would say to clarify?
See, it's not just the Panchakosha, everything is imbued with it. The five bodies, everything. So you see, kind of, if you talk about, say, Annamaya Kosha, it's our body. So what is it like that drives our desire to eat? What is it that we wear? Do we wear subtle clothes? Do we wear, how do we cover our body? Do we wear those flashy clothes? So then the sattva rajas manifest there? Or do you wear kind of just about anything which is dirty, which is unwashed, but you don't mind? So then tamas predominates there, in our kosha and the Annamaya kosha, and that what drives our physical body. How do we present your physical body? Then the next comes your mental makeup, our intellect, our emotions. They are again driven by the three gunas. How they are driven by it, we'll see in the next module. But our mind and intellect are driven by the three gunas. Our senses, what do we seek? What kind of movies are we going towards? What is that OTT, on the OTT platform? What do we watch? Is there something, do we like that all that violence and gore every time? So is that the tamas and rajas in us manifesting in the kind of movies that we see, the kind of books we read? So it manifests. So everything is imbued in it. And that Anandamaya kosha, which is kind of highly sattvic,
Hmm.
how do we go towards it? Is it manifesting? How are the desires, the nature of the desires, the texture of our thoughts, our desires? So everything is imbued with it, the three gunas.
If I can add a
Yes.
point to Sriram's point,
Yeah, go
where he
ahead.
asked, does it with age change? I guess in today's world, there is a premium that people give to Rajas. You take sport. If I'm very gentle, I'm not favored. I need to be aggressive. You take movies, you take politics, you take education. I think there is a shift that the world rewards Rajasic behavior right now. So all the more
No fire in the
important.
belly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today they're saying after 70 years, you can have a second career. So you need to still desire. You need to go. I'm
Yeah,
not
you
saying it's
still need.
wrong. So I'm saying all the more important that we understand the gunas and, kind of dial up sattvic guna.
Mm. Yes, yes, absolutely right. And that is why we push our children like that, from their small age towards activity. Do as much as possible, learn as many skills as possible. You don't know where it will come useful. And
I
sports,
mean,
like
I
you said,
find it
sportsmen
very,
have to be. And you see the change in our Indian team, our earlier Indian cricket team and the present team. They're so aggressive, and we reward that. We are very proud that we have become
yeah,
aggressive as a nation. As a
yeah.
nation, we were not aggressive. We had kind of become very submissive, but now we become aggressive, and all of us are very proud of it
Now
because
you have
somewhere
become
aggression is
Durandar.
required. You know.
But I personally feel it is so sad that a movie like Kabir, something, I don't know, that and the Durandars of the world actually are 1,500 crore movies, but not the one that's pretty subtle or, the higher values. It's actually pretty sad.
No, but that it's not sad. It is just made for people who are sattvic. So, it is made for a clientele which will go and enjoy it. You know,
Yes.
it is
But
not made for everybody's consumption. Whereas there are,
that's right.
like you say, there are more Rajasic people and they love Durandar because, and that's kind of paid off for the country. So
Yeah. So I'm saying
ultimately,
there is
like
a
when I take
formula.
you through the textures of the people, you realize that a Kshatriya has to be aggressive and you need those
Yes,
aggressive Kshatriyas to protect us because the world is aggressive by nature.
absolutely.
Yeah. So somewhere, yes. And then you need the thinkers and the philosophers. And which is why, in those days, they had these philosopher kings like Janaka, who was a philosopher, but who was also an aggressive king who knew both. So, and like Lord Rama was given a training on everything, you know, he was given a training on, I think, in fact, that guest speaker who had come, who's analyzed the Ramayana very well, the two brothers from Vyoma, they speak so well. And the kind of training Lord Ram got was on administering the kingdom and also knowing about the how to fight, how to put people in all the right places. And if Bharat kind of felt scared and intimidated by taking on that, it is not just because of the fact that he had taken it away from he had taken away his brother's right. It was also because he was not trained in all these statecraft. It was only Rama who got that training in all this. Bharat was just trained to be a kind of a defense minister and take care of a certain activities, be like the home minister. He was not given the training, and which is why he panicked because he knew something his mother did not, that he was never trained for the job. Whereas Lord Rama got the training for the job to be aggressive. At the same time, he was also inherently sattvic. So, which is why you see the manifestation of a text called Yoga Vasishta, where he, after that, when he was taken for that war by Vishwamitra, he comes back and there are so many life questions that assails him. He has so many questions on the why and what of life and philosophy, which results in Vashishta explaining to him the philosophy of the Upanishads, and that resulted in Yoga Vashishta. So you see that combination of both in him, and he expanded his kingdom also. So that aggression was there, which had to be in a Kshatriya with the combination of sattva guna also. So I guess that is what our leaders, most of the leaders whom we coach, need that. No, I
Hmm.
see a lot of aggression in them. They've reached a point, but many of them lack that empathy that should go with
Yeah,
a senior position. And I see that. I mean, I'm
correct.
coaching one person, I see that very clearly, that absolute lack of empathy, and they think it's not important. But like Marshall Goldsmith says, you have come up to this point using your aggression and your knowledge that you have acquired, that sattva guna helped you in acquiring that knowledge, the rajasic guna helped you reach this position, but now you need to become a little bit more sattvic and get connected with people, connected with the emotions of
Yeah,
people, use your intellect for that. So that's the transition that we should help them make. you know.
true.
So anything else? Pushpendra and
Okay. Let me say then what thoughts came to my mind. First, of course, when I was hearing about this tamsek, it also sounded to me like as if it's something which is also sometimes of a context where you're caught in a situation where you can't do much and you are fixed, Of course, then I also understood from you that, okay, you need to break out from it. It's not that context alone will determine. There is a time and thing. If you think it's too toxic, too difficult for you to do anything, maybe it's time for you to move out. So action has to be taken by you only. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I was trying to relate all that thoughts that you were telling me and also seeing how I relate Tamsik with some things. And then, of course, this question came up of Vaya also, where I felt maybe transcendence is a little bit more about being or sattvic, but not necessarily. Not
Not
necessarily,
necessary.
because
Correct.
it's all distributed in several places, like even in social intelligence or kindness or love. It's in different places that you see.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it
I
is
could also
correct.
figure out what you said was about the Tamsik is actually coming out as low strength in many places, like zest, people who have inertia. So
Mm,
it's low
mm,
zest in there. So it's a lot of
mm.
low factors
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up
yeah.
actually. Absence of things rather than presence of something is what the way it is coming
Correct,
out.
correct,
As you
correct.
said, no, it's maybe low everywhere. So
Mm.
that's what is coming. So this is some of the things I could relate to. But of course, this needs to be thought over carefully where what goes and is it really possible to map or maybe not exactly, but in what way? So these were some of the thoughts that were going on in my
Mm.
mind, and I
Mm.
was just listening to everybody. So there are a lot of thoughts. Let me tell you, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I figured out everything, but
No, no.
a lot of thoughts to
Yeah,
think how these also relate. And also somebody saying like is it age related? It could be, it could not be. It was also stage of person.
yeah.
You may become more sattvic at some time. You may be more rajasic depending on again the
depending on
situation. Situation
depending
demands.
on your ashrama.
And
Yes.
also see,
Depend.
if the market or the situation is becoming aggressive, you have to be aggressive where it is required to be.
Correct.
So you keep on balancing and not necessarily get fixed into a particular state.
Mm.
Maybe see how much of that is what is to be used when,
Mm.
and maybe
Correct.
keep on changing,
Yeah.
and even take people out for some other thing like rest or rejuvenation and things like that. So it's all combination as I see,
Correct.
and
Correct.
how to use
Yes.
it properly rather than getting fixed
Yeah.
that this is the best and this is the worst. Okay, nothing
True, true.
exactly as I could see from all that.
Yeah. And like you say, like being sattvic, highly sattvic does not mean that you become a doormat and just keep on, taking everything because you're calm and
Yeah.
cool from within. At some point, the aggression needs to come out to protect yourself. You know,
Yes.
that's why you see some saints also. You wonder why is that saint getting angry? Because a saint has to sometimes show anger just to get work done or to kind of put the boundaries also. Because people can exploit them and they know when they're being exploited. So sometimes it manifests as anger, but that anger could be just a kind of a screen they put to protect themselves.
Sure.
So we need to do that. The thing is, to kind of maybe show aggression, but not really get affected internally by it. Just to use it as a screen to kind of not get exploited in life, but don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
So anything more? I don't think some people have dropped off. So yes, I think geez, yes, we still have one person who has not spoken. I thought you had dropped off because I didn't see you on the screen. No, you have to unmute yourself. No, we can't hear you yet. Yeah. No, no, we can't hear you.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. No, I mean, I think even what Daya was saying about how, in the business world or the corporate world, one finds more of a display of the Rajasic behavior because, companies, corporations drive people to be, very number oriented results, quarterly, meeting the stock market, etc., etc. But I think like you rightly pointed out, I think what for leaders to kind of make an impact, they have to learn and learn and apply and kind of fuse sattvic and rajasic depending upon the situation. And I think what today a lot of leaders that we coach find are basically 90%, 90 or 100% of their time they are rajasic. So the thing is that you cannot move away from being rajasic, because if you've got to deliver to what your employer or company or your business demands of you, but you have to have the ability to bring in the sattvic side to be able to be a better leader. And I think very often, even in our lives, on one particular day, you will probably exhibit all three behaviors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in the evening you go out for tea and you kind of, get all these samosas and then all these things, and you suddenly start eating a lot. That's the tamasic side of you coming out, right? You might start your day with yoga and meditation, but then by the end of the day, you become very tamasic as well. So
I mean, I can't get rid of my love for pani puri, so that's absolutely.
So it is, and the other thing which,
Vada
sorry,
pav, yes. Vada pav.
exactly. All the weaknesses that you'll end up displaying. And you were talking about how Bhagavad Gita and its teachings have come into, you find a lot of foreign people talking about it. Very interestingly, I'm reading a fiction book written by Dan Brown. A lot of people would have heard of Da Vinci Code, and it's in that same series. And in this book, there are continuous references to the Bhagavad Gita, because this particular book is about the larger consciousness which exists outside the human being. So it was very interesting to see that it's even coming into play even in fiction. So yeah.
I guess.
What is the title of the book?
Secret of Secrets.
Okay.
It's the latest Dan
one,
Brown in the same thing. And in fact, the entire book is centered around this larger consciousness outside the physical form of a human. So
Whereas,
you can,
Vedanta talks about it being inside our physical body also, but that is that's a difference, I suppose. I would like to read that. And he talks about a lot of these, go ahead.
Advaita.
Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, I guess.
So in the book, they call it the study of noetics, noetic science, Noetics science.
Okay. And he also uses a lot of these symbols and these mandalas and other things. Yes.
So in this book, there's less of the symbols. There's more about this particular aspect, at least to the point where I've reached about halfway through.
Okay. Thanks. So any other questions or observations? If not,
very, very interesting session.
Yeah, it is. The next one will be even more, because with ultimately is the Lord's words, we are listening to. So that is, except, and then you realize how well thought out the Bhagavad Gita is, and why is it that it's not being taught to children? If only it was, we had not moved away from it, but probably, the collective consciousness would have been more aware, and we would have realized that yes, aggression is required, but it's also required, that we be empathic. All this would have been, been a part of our school curriculum, but sadly we have moved away from it.
Just one or two comments, if I may. Even in today's session, I see such a beautiful balance. I mean, in the three gunas that you explained, Jayanti and BKM also spoke about, the aspect of balance is very crucial, as I could understand. And even in today's session, the balance between your session and then the Q&A that you gave time for, uh, it somehow seemed to be really perfect, in that sense.
Yeah, ultimately, it's all your collective wisdom and your experience that comes out when you ask questions. The kind of experience each one of you has gone through manifests in the questions you ask. And that is what
And,
makes it very enjoyable, actually.
and just one small point, we spoke about education. Somehow I've had some exposure to the, Krishnamurti Foundation, the schools that they run.
Hmm.
And I have both my children studied at Rishi Valley in Madanapalli in Andhra.
Okay.
And
Okay.
somehow I've been able to see some of those aspects of, maybe they didn't teach it as gunas, but the way the whole education, they approach the whole idea of education
Hmm.
somehow seems to incorporate some of these aspects into it.
Oh, good. Yes.
Of course, we
We need
all know
more of
about
it
J.
now.
Krishnamurti, was a
Yes.
very well-known philosopher and educator also in that
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
Good. One small point, Jayanti. I mean, like we were talking that we should use Rajas at this point. We should use, but I think probably that is also not in our control, right? I mean, if we were only able to deploy this in the right time, we would all have become ideal human beings, right? I mean, it's also kind of it's in us that we may not be perfectly using the right thing at the right time, and so that talks for the aberrations in us. Otherwise, all of us would have become ideal human beings, right? I mean, use the right. If you only were to have that control, then we
That
would
is
have been
where our
ideal. Yeah,
swabhava, our
yeah,
swabhava comes in, and that is what the Lord talks about in the
yeah.
next chapters, where
Correct.
our inherent swabhava or our nature, driven by our own desires and passions, that has shaped us over the several
Yeah,
lives that we have, and that pushes us towards, making
Raja.
choices in life.
Yeah,
So we may
That's why
look
you
And
need
back
this
a
and
also,
coach
think I could have
also.
been that
Sorry.
way, but at that time, our desires manifested, making us
yeah,
choose that particular thing. Yeah, go ahead. Somebody
This
was
is
saying
also the
something.
process
Yeah.
of growing up actually, and
Ah,
that age factor comes into picture. Which guna to apply at what time and what context and with whom? That wisdom comes at the right time. And again, that is also driven by the swabhava. So it's a combination of all this and coming out at the right time, at the right place in a way.
hmm,
Otherwise, we make a mess of it and we come out of that situation and say, oh God, I should not have done this.
hmm.
If you have had a bad
Like,
food and then got into an argument, I'm sure all of us have gone through that. And if you were a little more thoughtful, things would have been very different. I mean, it all
After
explains our daily life actually, in some way.
after a couple of pegs, you generally get into an argument.
But that is,
So,
but that is, you're not in your own control. No? You have taken something which is making you think differently.
yes.
So,
And Shiva, I just like to mention that J. Krishnamurti Foundation rejects Vedanta. So
yeah,
they
they
feel
don't. Yeah.
they feel there's not necessary to have a guru in that and this and all. So
But they do
I mean,
incorporate certain aspects of the Indian knowledge
yeah,
system. Yeah, they mean,
Yeah. To Shriram's point, I would like to add, you need a coach for right balance. He said, do we know how to use it all correctly? So you need a Krishna or a coach, whichever way you see the context, to bring that out.
hmm.
in fact, on that note, to add to what Pushpendra said, since we couldn't do it, we have to make our coaches do the Gunas
Yes.
manage.
And all of us having
Okay.
large smiles because
so that's why perhaps the coach
Nice.
supervisor concept is coming. So the
uh,
senior coaches will
ah,
perhaps put some sattva into us, kind of.
peer review.
Okay.
oh,
We'll go to the prayer, closing
yes,
prayer. Yeah.
yes. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ram
Thank you
Ram,
very much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
We'll
you.
Thank
see
you
you
for a
next
Thank
wonderful
time.
you.
session.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.